When I recapped Lockdown a while back, I was reminded of another prison movie, this time with female leads, and this movie was called Civil Brand. And before I talk about this film, I want to talk about its backstory because I found it just as interesting than the movie itself. Directing this movie was Nima Barnett, a black woman. She had to overcome so much just to get this film off the ground. First, Barnett went to actual prisons to interview female inmates. One of the biggest questions asked was, what is the biggest challenge you face while in prison? And one of the main answers was prison labor, how prisoners were barely paid pennies on the dollar for long, vigorous hours. Nima Barnett and her writers decided to build their script around harsh prison labors equaling to slavery. Once the script was completed, she presented it to Civil Productions and Lionsgate, and it got approved for filming. She wanted to film in a prison in North Carolina, but the COs there did not like the script as they thought it was too graphic, and they denied her the site. So she rewrote her original script, taking out some of the graphic scenes, and presented it at Tennessee State Penitentiary, and they approved it. Then more problems arose. Barnett planned on filming at Tennessee State Pen for 30 days, but her budget got cut, and filming went from 30 days to 14 days. Obviously not enough time to film a movie. So she asked to get an extension on filming, and she only received one extra day, 1 year after filming had wrapped. And she took that 1 day to film setups that'll help connect the film all together. And to add on to the frustrations, Lionsgate and Civil only gave Barnett 1 week to edit the film altogether. Filmed in 2000, it wasn't released until 2002 in the film festival circuit and was only given a limited theater release in 2003. But that's enough backstory, let's get into the plot of the movie. Before we begin, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. It costs free $99, it helps out the channel, and you'll have zero regrets doing it. So without further ado, on to our feature presentation. This is the story on how women take over a prison, but before we begin, the credits misspelled Tashina Arnold's name, and I know she wasn't happy about that. But on the way to prison, we meet Sabrina and Francis, but once we get to prison, we meet Officer Deese, played by that one dude that's in every single Hood movie. He is the main antagonist of this whole movie, and if you look up the word a-hole, in the dictionary, it will have his picture on it. Frances is placed with a cellmate known as Lil Mama. She was 17 years old and pregnant, but she gets some background on a few of the inmates, like Nikki. She's the leader and not to be messed with. We also meet Wet, and she informs them about the other cliques and crews in the prisons. Frances tells Wet and Lil Mama on what she got booked on. It was murder, later revealed that she killed her husband after years of abuse. Lil Mama tells Frances about their daily routine, and it's basically slavery.
Saturday, okay, we're in a sweatshop all day until 12 noon. Then it's an hour in the yard, then it's chow, then it's back to cleaning up, unloading the truck, helping with dinner. Then we only got an hour on the phone, we only get paid $1.50 a day. I know it don't sound right.
We then meet Michael. He is a law student and the newest rookie CO. While this meeting is taking place, we also meet Asia, the prison snitch and possible mistress for Deese. She gets into a fight with Nikki, and after the fight, Deese talks to Michael and tells him that he runs the prison, not Warden Nelson.
The warden may have hired you. You got a problem? I'm the first and the last person you talk to. I run this prison, not Nelson.
On cue, Nelson appears. They have a conversation about how they can increase their profit in the prison business. Asia then visits Deese in the office. He lays hands on her for not providing any info on the prisoners. He then turns off the work camera and have her perform an unusual act on him. We'll just call it that. Once this is done, Asia slaps Frances and takes her locket that contains a picture of her daughter. Shortly after, Asia is stabbed by Nikki and she retrieves Frances' locket. We then meet Sergeant Cervantes, a female officer. Some of the female inmates try to talk to her about their problems, but it often falls on deaf ears. Deese asks Frances about who stabbed Asia. Frances refused to give her up, but they seem to know. That night, they enter Nikki's cell and beat her. Sabrina tells us the beating had nothing to do with Asia. Deese was crazy about Nikki, but she could give 2 flying F's about him. He would belittle her any chance he gets.
They say Deese was crazy about her, but she hated that guts. So he would do stuff like single her and her group out and act like he was making an example.
The cops have a conversation about the prison possibly going under. Deese blames softies like Michael taking up all the jobs. Michael brings up the inmates and he believes that they need to be treated better, but Deese views them as thieving criminals, and because they commit the crimes, they deserve to be treated like animals.
You talking about these women are thieves, murderers, drug addicts? They don't have respect for a damn thing. The only remedy is locking them up and throwing away the key, and if by chance they do get out of here,
After Deese leaves, Michael starts to do his research on the prison business. At night, Lil Mama is feeling sick, but no officers go in to check on her. Luckily, Frances, a former nurse, takes care of her during the night. The prison labor was starting to take a toll on the prisoners. Wet tried to start a petition, but the warden threw it out and added more time to her sentence. Nikki and her gang sneaks to the kitchen to have a meal, but their meal is short-lived when they spot Deese. He fortunately doesn't spot the girls, but the girls spot him planting a bomb in the kitchen. The plan was to bomb the kitchen and blame the inmates, and this plan fails when word gets back to Nelson and he puts Deese in his place, that if he catches him doing any dirty acts one more time, he will get fired. But back in his office, Lil Mama is now cleaning for Deese, and he starts to take a liking to her. He tries to make a pass on her, but she's not with that. Wet starts another petition on the working conditions. This time it's for a man named Miller, who works for the government and wants to invest in prison's cheap labor. When Miller arrives, Frances reads the demands for better working conditions, with Nikki giving the petition to Miller.
This is a peaceful work stoppage. We stand in solidarity with all reform movements, demanding fair treatment for inmates.
But Deese shuts it down and sends Frances and Nikki to solitary confinement. For a while, the girls keep their sanity until Deese shows up with cocaine and hopes Nikki will fold. Thanks to Frances, Nikki snaps out of it and survives her bout with temptation. Once out of confinement, Frances gets a visit from her sister, and she delivers the bad news that her daughter became a victim of gang violence, and they place Frances on removal watch afterwards. The girls are at their ends with Deese. Asia talks about Deese and she's fed up with his abuse and now wants revenge. Nikki thinks she's capping, but they settle with the plan. The plan is for Asia to seduce Deese into fake an R-word incident. Normally, when Deese gets a sexual favor, he turns off his work camera. He rushes Lil Mama out from cleaning, but she returns to retrieve her Bible. While doing this, she hits the record button and records every action he has done. While retrieving the towel, Asia turns off the camera. Deese rushes Aisha out. The plan was for Lil Mama to return to work after this, to retrieve the tape and to give it to Michael, who then was going to give the tape to Wet's boyfriend, who had connections to the state. But the plan fails when Lil Mama tries to return for work and Deese left for the day, so they have to wait till tomorrow. The next day, Lil Mama returns to Deese's office to orchestrate their original plan, but that plan fails when he R-words Lil Mama. She is rushed to the infirmary where she's suffering a miscarriage. The doctors tried to heal her, but sadly, she doesn't make it. The other inmates crash out and take the doctor and Michael hostage. Wet shoots Deese, who unattendedly hits the doctor. The girls now have Deese as a hostage, but they let Michael go since they have no beef with him. They order Nelson to have the governor on the phone so he can hear him confess to Lil Mama's R-word. They don't get the governor, but Deese does confess to the death of Lil Mama and the doctor, and they order the men to call it off. Just then, Deese attacks Frances, but Nikki and Frances empty the clip on him, ending his existence. Wet decides to save face and faces the other cops, but there was only one outcome for that. Nikki and Frances has two options: face the cops and face whatever they have coming for them, or end it all themselves. But refusing self-removal, Nikki and Frances choose option 1 and they are no more. Their plan wound up working after all when Aisha got the tape. The inmates filed a lawsuit and won. Nelson got indicted and his prison was shut down, but Aisha was killed in a prison fight shortly after retrieving the tape. For Sabrina, she's going back to the 60644 to write a book about her experiences. Too bad she went back to prison years later. This movie was hard to watch with adult eyes, and there are so many takeaways I could find, but I want to talk about some of the biggest themes that I found. First is abuse of power. Deese might have been captain, but he acted like he ran the whole prison. He believed that the inmates deserved to be treated poorly because of the crimes they committed. Not to mention, he would abuse some of the prisoners before doing the unthinkable. Glad he got what he had coming to him. But the next theme is the prison itself. And I'm not going to dive too much into the whole prison is a business rabbit hole, but in prison, these women work long hours for little to no pay, yet prisons and other corporations net all the profits. All in all, I do consider this a slave movie. Think about it. Deese is the massa, and the women are the slaves, and the prison is the plantation. Is this movie good or even recommendable? Okay, remember when I said that this film was edited in a week? You could tell that some scenes and backdrops were reused, but if you could overlook the editing woes, I could say you could seek it out, but prepare yourself. This movie will make you think. And that concludes the Civil Brand recap. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Please like, comment, and subscribe, as majority of you watching aren't subscribed to this channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. The following was a JGTV production. Thanks for watching.